mind can be your greatest ally, or it can be your most merciless enemy. The constant noise of negative thoughts, those moments of self-doubt, the haunting voices that tell you you're not good enough. What if I told you these thoughts aren't your own? They are learned, conditioned, and can be unlearned. You can conquer them. You can silence them. You can free yourself. This is the power of Stoicism, and it is within your grasp. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and an emperor, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." How much more true could that be in a world that constantly pushes us toward negativity? What if you could break free from the grip of destructive emotions? What if you could rise above the fleeting distractions of life and hold your inner peace? In the next few minutes, we'll uncover how Stoicism, especially the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, can help you eliminate negative thinking and transform your mindset forever. Number 1. The battle within. We all fight battles every day. Some are external, the pressure of deadlines, expectations from others, the weight of responsibilities. But the most intense, the most draining battle is the one inside, the internal battle. It is within the mind that the greatest war takes place. The mind is a battleground where self-doubt, negativity, and fear are the enemy. These thoughts are like shadows, lurking in the corners of our consciousness, waiting for moments of vulnerability to creep in and darken our thoughts. They convince us that we are not enough. They make us believe that we are failures, incapable of achieving greatness. They tell us that we are worthless, that nothing we do matters. These thoughts paralyze us, holding us back from the life we are capable of living. But here's the truth. The Stoics knew that the mind is not something that controls us. It is something we have the power to control. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, often spoke about the importance of mastering our inner world. In his meditations, he wrote, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." This is a fundamental truth that many fail to grasp. The world outside may be chaotic, but the world inside is ours to shape. Negative thoughts are like weeds in a garden. They grow quickly, spreading and taking over if left unchecked. The Stoics believed that we must tend to our mental garden, pulling out these weeds before they have the chance to overtake the beauty of our mind. Marcus Aurelius also reminds us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The power lies within us to choose how we react to the thoughts that invade our minds. When we feel negativity creeping in, we have the choice to not let it control us. Instead of surrendering to fear or doubt, we must confront them with reason, clarity, and self-discipline. The key to controlling these destructive thoughts is not in trying to banish them entirely. It's about challenging them, questioning their validity, and replacing them with thoughts rooted in virtue, rationality, and truth. Stoicism teaches us to examine our thoughts, to ask ourselves whether they are based on fact or whether they are merely the result of unchecked emotion. It is not about suppressing our feelings, but about transforming them into something productive. A negative thought does not have to define us. Instead, we can use it as a stepping stone toward greater strength and understanding. By acknowledging our fears and doubts, we can strip them of their power and turn them into opportunities for growth. Number 2, the power of self-control. In the face of overwhelming negativity, what separates the Stoic from the rest is not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. A Stoic does not seek to eradicate emotions altogether. Rather, they seek to understand them, to control them, and to use them for their own benefit. Marcus Aurelius in his meditations writes, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This insight reveals the key to self-mastery, the ability to control what we think, how we react, and ultimately, who we become. Imagine the destructive power of an uncontrolled mind. A single negative thought can spiral into an entire day, an entire week, or even a lifetime of misery. The Stoics teach us that we must cultivate a calm, disciplined mind. This does not mean avoiding or repressing negative thoughts, but confronting them with clarity and strength. We must question the validity of these thoughts, remove their emotional charge, and transform them into actions that move us forward, not backward. We are not our thoughts. Our actions, shaped by the quality of our thoughts, define us. In the heat of a moment, when the emotions of fear, anger, or sadness rise within us, the Stoic pauses. They do not rush to react. Instead, they breathe, they reflect, and they take control of their response. This is where true power lies, not in what happens to us, but in how we respond. You are not disturbed by things, but by the view you take of them, Marcus Aurelius wrote. The Stoic knows that emotions, like storms, will pass if we do not allow them to control us. Self-control is not about denying our emotions or pretending they don't exist. It is about taking responsibility for how we engage with them. When we feel angry, we recognize the anger, examine its source, and choose not to let it dictate our behavior. When we feel overwhelmed by fear or anxiety, we acknowledge it, but we do not let it stop us from acting in alignment with our values. The Stoic sees emotion as an opportunity for growth, a chance to practice discipline and inner fortitude. In every challenge, there is the potential for us to strengthen our self-control. Every moment of anger or fear is an invitation to practice peace and rationality. As we learn to master our emotions, we learn to master ourselves. And as we do so, we find that the power to shape our lives lies not in external circumstances, but in our own ability to control our reactions. Number 3. Overcoming destructive emotions. One of the greatest battles we face as human beings is the war with our own minds. Our minds are constantly bombarded by destructive emotions: fear, anger, doubt, jealousy, and regret. These emotions are not inherently bad, they are part of our human experience. However, when left unchecked, they can take control of our actions, cloud our judgment, and lead us to make decisions that we later regret. For a Stoic, the goal is not to avoid these emotions, but to rise above them, to overcome them, and to transform them into something constructive. Marcus Aurelius speaks on this in Meditations when he says, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What we think shapes our emotional state, and our emotional state shapes our actions. If we constantly think in terms of defeat, fear, or anger, our emotions will naturally follow suit. But if we choose to replace these thoughts with thoughts of resilience, understanding, and rationality, our emotions will align with those higher ideals. The Stoic approach is not about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. On the contrary, it is about acknowledging the emotion, analyzing its source, and understanding its purpose. Why do we feel angry? Is it because someone has wronged us? Or is it because we have an unrealistic expectation of them? Why do we feel fear? Is it because we are afraid of failure? Or is it because we are afraid of something we cannot control? By questioning the root of our emotions, we disarm them. We stop letting them dictate our actions and begin to take control of them. Let us remember that emotions are not facts. They are simply signals, indicators of how we are perceiving the world around us. They are temporary and ever-changing, like the weather. The Stoic does not become attached to them. They observe them and allow them to pass. When we stop identifying with our emotions, we free ourselves from their power. But this process is not easy. It requires constant vigilance, self-reflection, and practice. The Stoic does not expect perfection. There will be moments when emotions will surge, and we will feel as though we are losing control. But the key is not in avoiding the emotion, but in how we respond to it. Do we let it control us, or do we control it? In the words of Epictetus, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Our power lies in this choice. We cannot control the world around us, but we can control how we meet the world. The Stoic, armed with self-control and a clear mind, faces each emotion with calmness and clarity, ready to turn it into an opportunity for growth. Number 4. The art of self-control. Self-control is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Without it, we are mere slaves to our impulses, driven by the whims of our emotions and desires. The Stoic, however, is different. We do not allow our passions to govern us, we govern them. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. True strength lies not in the ability to control external circumstances, but in our mastery over ourselves. The world is full of temptations and distractions. The modern age, perhaps more than ever before, bombards us with instant gratification, pleasure, distractions, and comforts that are all too easy to indulge in. Yet every indulgence takes us further from true happiness, which is found not in fleeting pleasures, but in discipline and self-control. The Stoic understands that happiness is not something that can be gained by external means. Rather, it is a byproduct of living a life in accordance with virtue, reason, and self-control. Self-control is not about denial or suppression, it is about balance. It is about understanding the difference between what we truly need and what we simply want. The Stoic does not deny himself pleasures, but he also does not chase them blindly. When we indulge in excessive pleasures or act impulsively, we give away our power. We are at the mercy of our desires. But when we practice self-control, we reclaim our power and align ourselves with our higher purpose. Take, for example, the practice of fasting. It is not about punishing the body, but about exercising control over the mind. The Stoic understands that our desires are not inherently bad, but they can become dangerous when they are allowed to run wild. By practicing restraint, whether in food, drink, or other indulgences, we are reminding ourselves that we are in control. We are not slaves to our desires, we are their masters. Self-control also applies to our interactions with others. In moments of anger or frustration, we must resist the urge to lash out, to speak in haste, or to act in a way that we might later regret. As Epictetus says, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoic understands that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can always control how we respond. We choose to meet hostility with calmness, insult with dignity, and frustration with patience. In this way, we not only maintain our inner peace, but we also set an example for those around us. Through the practice of self-control, we transcend the limitations of our base instincts and become the masters of our fate. We do not let life happen to us. We actively shape our lives through conscious decisions and deliberate actions. This is the power of Stoicism, the power to choose, to act with purpose, and to rise above the chaos of the world. Number 5. Transforming your thoughts. The Stoic philosopher does not allow his mind to be polluted by negative thoughts. We are what we think, and the quality of our thoughts directly influences the quality of our lives. If we fill our minds with negativity, fear, doubt, or resentment, we are bound to live a life filled with these same qualities. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The Stoic teaches us that we must take responsibility for the thoughts we allow to take root in our minds. This is where the practice of transforming negative thinking becomes critical. It's not enough to simply recognize that we have negative thoughts. We must actively replace them with empowering ones. We must train our minds to focus on what we can control, rather than dwelling on the things beyond our reach. This is where the concept of dichotomy of control comes into play. We cannot control everything that happens in the world, but we can control how we perceive and respond to it. When we focus on the things within our control, we free ourselves from the tyranny of negative thoughts. Negative thinking is often a reaction to external circumstances. When things don't go our way, our minds can quickly spiral into a vortex of self-doubt, anger, or frustration. The Stoic, however, does not allow himself to be dragged down by these fleeting emotions. He understands that such emotions are not reflective of reality, they are merely temporary reactions to events. By consciously redirecting our thoughts toward the things we can control, we break free from this cycle. For example, let's consider a failure at work. Instead of beating ourselves up with negative thoughts like, I'm not good enough or I'll never succeed, the Stoic turns inward and asks, what can I learn from this? By reframing the situation, we shift from a mindset of defeat to one of growth. Failure, in the Stoic view, is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced as an opportunity for improvement. This transformation of thought is not something that happens overnight. It requires practice, discipline, and a commitment to changing our habitual ways of thinking. We must catch ourselves when we begin to slip into negative thinking patterns and replace them with thoughts that are in line with Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. The Stoic does not rely on external validation to shape his thoughts. Instead, he draws strength from within. He looks to his own reason, to his understanding of the world, and to his knowledge of what truly matters. By developing this inner strength, we become immune to the poison of negative thinking and the external world's attempts to shape our emotions. We become free. It is important to remember that we are not our thoughts. We are the ones who observe our thoughts, and we have the power to choose which ones to nurture and which ones to dismiss. Just as a gardener carefully tends to his plants, we must tend to our minds, pruning away the weeds of negativity and planting the seeds of positivity and wisdom. Number 6. Embracing the present moment. Another crucial aspect of Stoic philosophy is the emphasis on the present moment. How often do we allow ourselves to be consumed by past regrets or future anxieties? We dwell on mistakes that cannot be undone or worry about outcomes that are yet to unfold. This constant mental turmoil prevents us from truly experiencing life as it is. The Stoic, however, has learned the art of embracing the present moment, recognizing that the only time we truly have is now. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in his Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This timeless wisdom encourages us to stop ruminating on the past or obsessing over the future. Instead, we should act in the present moment, focusing our energy on what we can do right now, rather than what we could have done or what we might do later. When we are consumed by thoughts of past mistakes or future uncertainties, we rob ourselves of the peace that can be found in the present. The Stoic teaches us to let go of this mental clutter and find stillness in the now. Our thoughts, when left unchecked, are often driven by fear, regret, and anticipation. However, when we embrace the present, we silence these distractions and allow our true selves to emerge. This practice of living in the present is not about ignoring the past or disregarding the future. Instead, it's about recognizing that we cannot change the past and we cannot predict the future. The only thing we have control over is the present. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This wisdom encourages us to focus on the here and now, on the things we can control, and not the things that lie beyond our reach. By embracing the present, we also embrace the possibility of change. The Stoic does not dwell on who he was or who he might become. He focuses on what he can do right now to improve himself. Every moment is an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to shed the old version of ourselves and step into a new, stronger one. To practice living in the present, we must start by training our minds to become more aware of the present moment. When we catch ourselves lost in thought, we gently redirect our focus back to the task at hand. Whether we are engaged in a conversation, working, or simply sitting in silence, we must practice full attention to the present moment without distractions. Living in the present does not mean ignoring our long-term goals. Instead, it means fully committing to the actions that will bring us closer to those goals in the here and now. It means making the most of every moment, every opportunity, every interaction. The Stoic teaches us that our power lies not in what we wish for, but in what we do in the present. Number 7. The power of self-control. One of the most profound aspects of Stoic philosophy is the emphasis on self-control. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with distractions, temptations, and emotions that can lead us astray. Yet the true Stoic understands that self-control is not just about resisting external temptations, but mastering one's internal emotions and impulses. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This powerful reminder teaches us that we are not helpless in the face of external challenges. The world may be chaotic, but our internal world is within our control. When we cultivate the strength to control our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, we unlock a deep well of inner power. Self-control is not about suppression or denial. It's about understanding our desires and impulses and learning to act according to reason rather than emotion. The Stoic believes that our emotions, if left unchecked, can lead us to make rash decisions that undermine our well-being. Anger, jealousy, fear. These emotions, while natural, have the potential to consume us if we allow them to. Instead of suppressing these emotions, the Stoic practices awareness, observing them without becoming them. The practice of self-control requires constant vigilance. It is not a one-time achievement, but a daily commitment. Every situation in life offers an opportunity to exercise self-control, whether it's choosing to stay calm in the face of adversity, resisting the urge to react impulsively, or managing our desires for instant gratification. The Stoic does not seek to avoid these situations, but to navigate them with composure and wisdom. Self-control also means understanding our own limits and acknowledging when we need rest or reflection. It's about balancing our actions and emotions in a way that serves our long-term goals rather than fleeting pleasures. The Stoic does not indulge in excess, but chooses moderation in all things. As Epictetus wisely said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This freedom is not the absence of responsibility or constraint, but the mastery of one's own desires and actions. When we develop self-control, we stop being slaves to our emotions and impulses. We start to make decisions that are in alignment with our true values and principles, rather than being swayed by external forces. This mastery over oneself brings a sense of peace, as we no longer feel like we are at the mercy of our own whims. To cultivate self-control, we must first become aware of our impulses and reactions. Notice when you are tempted to react emotionally, whether in anger, frustration, or anxiety. Pause, take a deep breath, and observe the urge without acting on it. This moment of reflection gives you the space to choose a more thoughtful and measured response. Over time, these small moments of self-awareness will add up, allowing you to develop a deeper sense of control over your actions and emotions. Self-control is not about perfection. It is about progress. It's about showing up each day with the intention to improve, to act in accordance with virtue, and to remain steady in the face of life's challenges. As we practice self-control, we also build resilience. We become more adaptable, able to navigate any obstacle with poise and clarity. In a world that thrives on external chaos, we become islands of stability, grounded in our inner strength. Number 8. The importance of perspective. Perspective is everything. Our thoughts, our emotions, and our reactions are not shaped by external events, but by the way we choose to perceive those events. This is one of the key teachings of Stoicism, the idea that we have control over our perceptions, even when we cannot control the events themselves. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. This powerful observation teaches us that much of our suffering comes from how we interpret the world around us. When we change our perspective, we change our reality. This idea is crucial when it comes to negative thinking. Often, our minds dwell on the worst-case scenarios, replaying negative events or imagining future disasters. But what if we took a step back and viewed things from a different angle? What if we saw challenges not as threats, but as opportunities for growth? What if we could look at failure not as a reflection of our inadequacies, but as a chance to learn and improve? A Stoic does not allow their mind to become consumed by these negative thoughts. Instead, they train themselves to view the world as it truly is. Not as a source of suffering, but as a series of events that are neither good nor bad in themselves. It is our judgment of these events that determines how we feel. When we accept that external events are outside our control, we can release the grip that negative thinking holds over us. Changing our perspective is not always easy. It takes practice and discipline to reframe our thoughts, to see the silver lining in difficult situations. But with time, this shift becomes second nature. When faced with adversity, a Stoic will not see themselves as a victim, but as someone with the ability to endure and learn. They will remind themselves that hardships are a natural part of life, and that the key to happiness lies in how they choose to respond. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, wisely stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the core of Stoic thinking. The events themselves may be beyond our control, but how we perceive and react to them is entirely within our power. We must ask ourselves, how often do we allow our emotions to dictate our reality? How often do we let negativity cloud our judgment, overshadowing the opportunities for growth in every situation? The Stoic teaches us that by shifting our perspective, we can transform even the most difficult experiences into valuable lessons. A simple example. Imagine you've had a bad day at work. You feel overlooked, misunderstood, and frustrated. The mind quickly races into negative thoughts, thinking that this is the worst day ever, that things will never get better, or that you are somehow not good enough. But what if, instead of allowing those thoughts to control you, you paused and asked yourself, what is this situation teaching me? How can I grow from it? You may not be able to change what happened, but you can change how you view it. You can choose to see it as a moment of growth, a stepping stone on the path to becoming stronger and wiser. This change in perspective is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic arsenal. By taking a step back and evaluating the situation without emotional attachment, we can clear away the fog of negativity and see things for what they truly are, opportunities for growth, not burdens to bear. Number 9. The path of self-mastery. As we reflect on the teachings of Stoicism and how to kill our negative thinking, we must remember that the ultimate goal is not to simply eliminate negativity, but to build a life of self-mastery. Self-mastery is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that we never experience hardships. It is about learning to respond to life's challenges with wisdom, control, and resilience. Stoicism teaches us that our thoughts and emotions are within our control. We are not victims of our circumstances. We are the creators of our experiences. The Stoic path is one of continuous self-improvement, where we strive each day to become better versions of ourselves. It requires diligence, discipline, and an unyielding commitment to our personal growth. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often wrote about the importance of mastering one's own mind. He understood that the key to true freedom lies in the control we have over our thoughts. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Our thoughts shape our reality, and if we allow ourselves to be consumed by negativity, we allow that negativity to shape our lives. But if we choose to cultivate positive, constructive thoughts, we can transform our experience. The path to self-mastery is not a quick or easy one. It requires relentless effort, day in and day out. But as we continue to practice Stoic principles, we will find that we develop the strength to face even the most difficult situations with calm and clarity. The more we exercise control over our thoughts, the more we become masters of our own destiny. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, reminds us of the importance of discipline in our pursuit of self-mastery. No man is free who is not master of himself. He says, "True freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from the control we have over our own minds." When we learn to control our reactions, when we learn to let go of negative thinking, we unlock a profound sense of freedom. Self-mastery also involves accepting that we are not perfect. We will make mistakes, we will falter, and we will face setbacks. But the Stoic teaches us that failure is not something to be feared or avoided. Failure is a part of the journey, a stepping stone on the path to wisdom. It is through failure that we learn the most about ourselves, and it is through failure that we grow the strongest. So let us commit to the path of self-mastery. Let us practice the teachings of Stoicism each day, cultivating discipline, wisdom, and control over our thoughts and emotions. Let us refuse to be slaves to negativity and instead choose to live lives of purpose, resilience, and peace. In doing so, we will find true happiness, not in the world around us, but in the power we have to shape our own minds. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.